There's actually so much background noise outside. I hope that it doesn't pick up on the sound. But what is up, you guys? Welcome back to the Recovery Rebellion. Just a few things I wanted to go over with you today because I should be editing. And of course, instead of editing, I'm recording. I keep doing that. But I made a plan with myself. And while I'm sure you've noticed I'm not one for sticking to the plans that I make for myself. So I do have several solo episodes that I just have not uploaded and I'm not going to probably, but they all have a few different things that I want to upload as clips. So I'm going to take some of those clips and then just upload them as shorter, like mini pod sessions. I don't know, where I just literally am talking about one thing. There's no real intro or anything. It's just literally a clip. I don't know, maybe I will do a little intro for them. Clearly, I haven't figured out what I'm doing. But the good thing is, what I keep telling myself is that I have the content, right? Like, I have plenty of content. Then you add in my interviews. I'm stockpiling those, and I'm supposed to be releasing one every Sunday. I did not release one this Sunday. I will be getting that one up soon, but that is supposed to be the schedule, is that there's an episode every Sunday, and right now I want it to be the interviews, but I feel like eventually I'm gonna run out of people, but maybe not though, especially in the social media world. And I already have like seven, I think, right now that need to go up, and I have more interviews scheduled. There's also some people that I definitely want to bring back and have specific conversations with. I also would love to do something where I got a bunch of us together and we talked about some current hot topics because there's people who have, some more knowledge, like a lot more knowledge than I do, right? But just different people, different areas, because the drugs, right? The illicit supply is different in different areas as well, and just like what's going on there. I think it would be pretty cool to do. But obviously, people's schedules, it's hard just to schedule with one person to try to get a bunch of people. So I don't know, we'll see, but that's definitely something that's in the back of my head. But anyways, the reason that I'm even uploading this is because you guys have me so excited because I finally hit 800 subscribers, which to most people probably doesn't sound like anything, but I have had my YouTube channel for like 5 years, right? So it's been a very slow growth. And so to me, 800 is like that's a big milestone for me. It was actually funny. I was going through like trying to make space in my phone and I had seen a screenshot of when I had 63 subscribers. It's like it's been quite the journey, right? Just to get to 800. And I really do appreciate you guys for being here. And I think as it grows, that motivates me more to upload more. So again, that's why I'm recording this. And the thing is that I really have been doing really well about making the content. It's just editing. And I know I don't do any fancy edits or anything, but there's just something about listening to myself back for that long. It's like, oh, it's not fun. Like it's just, I don't enjoy it. I actually told myself, I'm like, you need to probably start adding some stuff to your editing to make it a little bit more entertaining for yourself to edit. I don't know if that will help because then the other side of me is like, well, that might just make you take longer. So I don't know. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. So what I'm trying to do so that I have to edit less is put some notes over here on the side so that way hopefully I'll have less pauses and can edit less. So we'll see. We're trying it right now, right? That's what we're doing. But anyways, thank you so much for 800 of you guys who actually hit subscribe. That really does mean a lot to me. And some of you have been here since the beginning, and I just fucking love you and adore you and appreciate you. And you guys keep me going because sometimes this shit sucks. Like, I love it in some sense, but in other senses, I don't. That's why it always cracks me up when people are like, oh, you just do this for views and followers. It's like, dude, I've been doing this for 5 years and my numbers are so small compared to most people who have been doing this for this length of time. But I mean, I know the biggest difference between me and a lot of people is the consistency thing. Like, I'm not super consistent. I've been trying to be for 5 years. It just hasn't worked out. But I feel like, at least on YouTube and obviously with the podcast, I'm being more frequent than I ever have. But I keep like I don't know. I'm not even gonna talk about it anymore because I'm always talking about how I need to get my shit together with this shit and I never do. So we're just gonna keep trying stuff in the background and hopefully something clicks. But let me look at my notes over here. Okay, so you may have seen this thing circulating around. So Endiver put out a statement. You may have seen people sharing it, and they said they're not marketing Opvee anymore in the US. And Opvee was I'm not gonna say this right, nalmefene nasal spray hyped up as like this is the next Narcan that we need in the illicit fentanyl era, right? They were hyping it up because it was longer lasting and they said that it was stronger and it was better for the fentanyl that's out there. But from the start, the harm reduction community was like, no, naloxone works. We have studies that show that naloxone works, and naloxone works even for illicit fentanyl, right? And the problem with the Opvee was that what it actually brought to the table was way worse withdrawal, right? Like brutal, precipitated withdrawal that is 100% not necessary. So proud to be in a state like Massachusetts who said no thanks. Like, we don't need that shit here. And so Endeavor was finally backing off basically because nobody bought it, right? I think they were hoping that it would be the next hyped up thing. Luckily, it didn't happen that way. And I didn't even know who Endiver, I don't even, like, Endivior? Is it Endiver or Endivior? I think it's Endiver, but look it up yourself. And if you didn't know who Endiver was, because I didn't at first, once I looked at it, I was like, oh, I think I do remember that they were the makers of Suboxone, but they make Suboxone, Subutex, Sublocade, and something I'd never heard of before called, you know me, I pronounce everything incorrectly, or at least I feel like I do. Perserius, Perseris, and that is actually for schizophrenia. It's an extended release risperidone shot. So they're a pretty big player in the world of substance use disorder and mental health. I really think that's an example of like what do they say, like voting with your dollar, right? Like the places that were pushing back on it and not buying into it, therefore not purchasing the product, it wasn't successful for them. So they're pulling back. And I'm actually surprised that the government didn't say like, oh yes, this is what we need. This couldn't have come at a better time, especially with things, the way it looks like harm reduction is a lot of policies are stepping backwards right now. This is a good time for that statement for them to not be marketing it anymore to come out because the last thing we need is for this to get in the hands of the government and for them to start putting dollars towards that instead of naloxone. I mean, that would just be a disaster. So if you've never heard of Opvee, it is a nasal spray that uses nalmefene, not naloxone. Okay. And the pitch was that it's stronger, that it lasts longer in the body so that you wouldn't need to worry about someone slipping back into an overdose after the naloxone wore off. And on the surface level, that probably sounds good, right? Like that sounds pretty good because that is something that we experienced. But then there was actually studies that showed that regular naloxone works just fine, even with the fentanyl, because, everyone saying that, well, no, we need, the naloxone was good for people during the heroin era, but this is what we need in the days of fentanyl. But no, there was no evidence that the nalmefene improved survival. But because of the long acting higher dose, it can trigger way worse precipitated withdrawal, the vomiting, the shaking, the panic, the kind of thing that just is absolutely brutal and it's dangerous, right? I mean, the fact that we know that we can revive people with little to no precipitated withdrawal just makes sense. Like that withdrawal is so overwhelming that people's first instinct is going to be to want to use to make it go away, right? And now that maybe they were in front of somebody when they just overdosed, but now, because people are going to be like, what the hell? Are you crazy? You just almost died. Like they're going to be more likely to use in secret. And then there may not be anyone there to revive them. This experience just adds to the trauma and the fear of the overdose that we don't need to add. And I know some people are gonna be like, no, like it should be bad and it should be traumatic. And I just want to repeat the definition of substance use disorder is using despite the negative consequences, right? So if negative consequences on their own were enough to make a person stop, then they probably wouldn't be fitting the criteria of the disorder, right? Obviously, there are people who have overdosed and that was it for them. That was their moment where they didn't use anymore. But that's not I wouldn't say that's common, right? And, I'm happy for the people that it does work that way for, but we just need to kind of think about the norm and what is going on out there. And I think, we just have this idea that, because people use drugs, like if they overdose, well, they have no one to blame but themselves. And, who cares if they come back in complete agony? It's their fault. They're lucky I was there to save their life. Like all of those kind of that attitude, right? Like just that like fuck them attitude is basically what it is. And in society, I think that's kind of the norm. That's how a lot of people do think, right? And that just goes back to the stigma of it all, I was talking to somebody the other day and I was like, everything really does go back to stigma. It's all about how we look at it. I think that even someone who gets alcohol poisoning still sees more compassion than the quote unquote junkies who overdose. And you just hear about it all the time. Let the junkies die, let them, because of the way that people associate drug use and the type of people that use them. And they don't realize that the people that are at the highest risk for overdose aren't people who use every day, aren't the people that they're picturing in their mind. Obviously, the people they're picturing in their mind deserve to stay alive too. But I'm just saying it's like there's just so much stigma and assumptions that are made with the type of people who are overdosing. And something like nalmefene, people I don't see society giving a shit about people having waking up in precipitated withdrawal and in the end increasing their risk of a deadly overdose after that. Like I don't see society caring, right? So I'm glad that the harm reduction community and places like Massachusetts Public Health was able to show them by advocating against it and not buying it. So that's a win. I just wanted to talk about that for a second. This weekend, I am speaking at an End the Stigma event, which I am nervous as hell, and I still don't know exactly what I'm gonna say, but I kind of have like a general sense of it, right? Since the event's about ending the stigma, right? For me, I believe the most stigma comes from the recovery community. I feel like the people who judge people who are in active use are people who used to be in active use, right? I feel that people who judge other people's recovery the most are other people in recovery. So that is really what I want to talk about. How I'm going to go about it, I'm not exactly sure, but it only has to be like 5 minutes. So she said like 5 to 10 minutes. So mine will definitely be five, but it's an opportunity to address, people in the local recovery community. And I think I do kind of want to say something. I don't want to make anyone uncomfortable or make anyone end up having some conversation with their sponsor on the way home that they're not ready to have. But I wanted to say something like, I'm sure there are people here right now who occasionally have a drink or they are taking Suboxone or they're on methadone or they use cannabis and they don't tell anybody in their recovery circle because it's not safe to. And they're not doing it because they're in a bad spot or they're walking a tight line. They're doing it because that is helpful for them in their recovery, but it's like the recovery space that they're in, that is what makes it unsafe for them to be doing one of those things because they're going to get a lot of shit for doing it. I don't know, I'll figure it out. So I don't know, 5 minutes sounds kind of long, but when I really think about it, there's been plenty of times when I was like really into something on TikTok where it was 5 minutes and I had to cut a bunch of it out. I think the struggle of making it 5 minutes long, to me, that just sounds I know it's for a speech, it's not long, but for me to just be up there talking, that sounds long, but I'll get it done. And then I'm so aggravated with myself because in 2 weeks is the Boston Freedom Rally. And last year I was like, okay, next year I'm going to do this, 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 and this for my table. And now it's less than 2 weeks away. And I'm like, yeah, I have no time to do any of that. And it's just so annoying because it's like this repeated cycle of that over and over again with everything. The good thing is that I have Hexpo in October and I have the Harvest Cup in November, so I still have time to make my table better for that. But Boston Freedom Rally is it's a big event, and this year it's 2 days, and I really could have done something cool with my table and I didn't. But I do believe someone from Safe Spot, the overdose prevention hotline that we have here in Massachusetts, but everybody in the country can use it. They stay with you on the phone while you use. And if you become unresponsive, they call 911, or if you have a person that you told them to call instead because you have naloxone in the house, then they call the person. But it's a great way for people to not die. So, yeah. So, I do believe one of their representatives is going to be joining me at the table, which will be cool. But yeah, I'm disappointed in myself for I'm not doing what I wanted to do with the table. I just wanted to have a lot more information and just make it more interactive and such. But I mean, I still have time to work on it. There's more cannabis events in the future. I hate to say it, but I mean, there's next year for the Boston Freedom Rally. One thing that I'm learning is that a year goes by faster and faster every single year. Like, I can't believe the Boston Freedom Rally was a year ago. Like I was just there last year and that came so quick. And even over the summer, I was like, oh, I got time. Like it's in September. Like I got to start working on this. I got to start working on this. And then guess what? I never started working on this. I really just, I got to learn. I keep saying it, but I got to learn how to take things out of notebooks and notes on my phone and execute the idea. But the craziest thing is like, especially when I get in these funks where I'm just like super disappointed in myself, it's like, at least I don't think it's my disease, right? Every time I have something where I'm like kind of down and out, I'm always like, at least I don't think it's my disease because there's definitely a time I would be like, this is your disease. You're not working your program hard enough. You're not doing what you need to do. You're being selfish. You're not showing up the way that you should be showing up, blah, 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 blah. So, but clearly the messaging's still there because I was able to say it really quick, but I don't actually believe that, which is the good thing. But am I still frustrated with myself? Absolutely. But at least I don't think it's my disease. So there's that. But anyways, I'm going to get this edited and uploaded. I do have the interview of the week going up. It will probably go up Friday, and then I do still hope to have the next interview go up this Sunday. So there'll be a couple of them close together because I didn't do this Sundays, but I really want to get on track and doing it every Sunday. All right, I will talk to you guys next time.